Howdy y'all and welcome to the special July Outlook. Hard to believe it's already July. Where does the time go? Please keep in mind that anything over a week out is virtually impossible to forecast because we cannot accurately predict the future, y'all. We'll be taking a look at some long range models, so that's why I put the disclaimer here, so keep that in mind. Now what we'll look at here is the CFS model. This is one of the long range models. We'll take a look at temperature anomalies and precipitation anomalies, as well as the sea surface temperature anomalies. And then I'll show you the Climate Protection Center's prediction on what to expect. So let's go ahead and get into the temperature anomalies first. The blues, the below average, and the oranges, yellows, sort of the above average. We can see that we were in a little bit of a heat dome to end June, and it's looking like we could be cooling off drastically as we head into the beginning parts of July, at least for the central and eastern part of the country, while the northwest, sort of a mixed bag out there. Some areas getting in on above average, some areas getting in on below average, and it's looking like the central part of the country as we head into the middle parts of the month could be coming in on this heat dome, and it could be returning out east as well as we head into the end of the month. But it's looking like as we head into August though, it's looking like that cooling trend is going to come back again. So basically the eastern part of the country is going to be cool to start, warming back up, and then we're going to cool off again as we head into August. Now, keep in mind, this will change between now and then. But we can see on the Climate Protection Center's monthly outlook, you can see that they're pretty spot on with the western half of the country, as it's expected to be above average out there. Equal chances means either above or below average, just depends. That's why I said earlier that we could be dealing with some cool temperatures to start off July and then come into a little bit of a heat wave in the middle parts of the month, and then the end of the month it could be a little bit cool. So that's why they put equal chances here. Northeast could be above average as well. Alaska, I don't really cover y'all much, but it's looking like could expect above average temperatures out east and below average temperatures out west. Now let's cover the precipitation of what we could expect, as June was actually surprisingly well above average here out east, and it's looking like could be a little bit soggy to start off July here in the central and eastern part of the country. So it could be cool and wet here in the central and eastern part, but a little bit dry and a little bit of a mixed bag out in the western half of the country. And as we head off into the middle and end of the month, it's looking like the western part of the country is going to dry out, while the eastern part of the country is sort of a mixed bag of wet and somewhat dry. So we could be a little bit cool and wet to start, drying off a little bit here in the middle parts of the month, and then we're going to come into a little bit of a drying pattern and cool pattern here amongst really much of the country. So it's looking like the start of August could be dry for much of the country. We could be starting to dry out, y'all, and usually August is pretty dry, so that's pretty typical. As we take a look at the Climate Protection Center's monthly outlook, we can see that the eastern part of the country from Texas up into the northeast, including Florida, is going to be above average, while the western part of the country is going to be below average to some areas getting in on above average. And as we take a look at Alaska, of course, the northwest is going to be above average, and equal chances means either above or below average. So basically here in July, I would expect the eastern half of the country to be a little bit cool and wet to start July. Then the middle parts of July is going to be starting to dry out a little bit and warming up. And then at the end of July into August, I would expect it to be a little bit cool and dry. Out west, I would expect it to be really warm throughout the whole month of July, I would expect. And some areas could be a little bit cool as well. But I would expect the whole entire month of July to be below average out west, with some areas being above average. But of course, this can and will change, so keep this in mind. Now, let's go ahead and get into the sea surface temperatures of what we could expect. Since we are into hurricane season, it has been a little bit of a slow start here in the Atlantic and sort of a rapid start here in the Pacific. We can see that start off July could be a little bit below average here in the main development region, a little bit above average here in the Gulf of America, as the sea surface temperatures have been very hot out there. Now, why we haven't had much activity out there is because mainly there's been a lot of Saharan dust in this area. One of the reasons why we've had a slow start this hurricane season of many. So once we get rid of this Saharan dust, we could be in for a wild ride as far as this hurricane season goes. We can see that we're going to be expecting the sea surface temperatures to start to drastically warm up as we head further and further into July and further into hurricane season. So don't let your guard down yet if you're along the coastal states, because remember last year we had a lot of intense hurricanes in September. At least Helene and Milton occurred in September and October, so keep this in mind, y'all. Can still have strong hurricanes here, although we've had a below average season. And speaking of the sea surface temperatures, I know this only takes us out to July 3rd, but we can see the sea surface temperatures here in the Gulf are really hot. They're pretty much hot tub water, basically, out there in the Gulf of America. And we can see here in the main development region, although they're expecting below average sea surface temperatures, still going to be relatively warm. Off the coast of Africa, it's going to be a little bit below average, but heating up a little bit. So any sort of system that comes off Africa could interact with this favorable environment once the Saharan dust goes away and the wind shear, and then we can have activity out there and something formed into a hurricane, and then bam, we have our first major hurricane out there. So now keep in mind, we don't have anything yet as of recording this video, so don't be too terrified just yet. I'm just telling y'all what to expect. But we can see as we head into July, really starting to heat up out there. So could be coming into a powder keg environment as we head into the meat and potatoes of hurricane season, y'all. And as we take a look at the Pacific Basin, pretty rapid start to the hurricane season here in the Eastern Pacific. Central Pacific's pretty quiet, but of course a below average hurricane season is expected out there. And we can see that a little bit below average to start off July, but then it's going to start to become above average again here out by California and parts of the Baja and a little bit of Mexico as well. Above average a little bit here in Hawaii, but mainly below average. So this is one of the reasons why we are going to see a below average hurricane season out by Hawaii this year. I'm not expecting much activity at all out there, but anything can well change, so I'll keep y'all informed on X on Facebook if anything does change, and I will have weekly uploads as well. And just like the Atlantic Basin, I'll show you all the sea surface temperatures out there. I think it's only to July 3rd, by the way. We can see why hurricane season has been an active one here in the Eastern Pacific, because we've had those steamy sea surface temperatures, basically hot tub water, and this is what could happen in the Gulf of America as well. As noted from last year, where we had Helene and Milton interacting with that environment, caused a lot of mayhem, of course. But we can see as we head into July, I'm expecting the sea surface temperatures to really start heating up in both the Atlantic and the Pacific basins. And as we take a look at the global tropics hazards outlook from July 2nd all the way to the 8th, and from July 9th to 15th, we can see that there is going to be some hazards out there, mainly in Central America and out here by Asia. And just south of Hawaii, there is a chance of formation, at least from the 2nd to the 8th. But I'm not too worried out there because of the sea surface temperatures not being favorable. But anything can will change, so I'll keep y'all informed if this does become a possibility of any sort of formation impacting y'all here in the near term. So now that I covered all of that interesting stuff, let's go ahead and get into some more interesting July facts and some folklore you most likely did not know. Did you know that July is actually named after Julius Caesar? It's a peak summer month in the Northern Hemisphere, home to celebrations like Independence Day. The ruby, symbolizing love and passion, is July's birthstone, while the larkspur, lightheartedness, and water lily, purity, are its birth flowers. And some folklore y'all most likely did not know. If the 1st of July be rainy weather, it will rain for 4 weeks together. Knee-high by the 4th of July, a farmer's gauge for a successful corn crop. No tempest, good July, lest the corn look really. A plea for calm weather to protect crops. Now, let's go ahead and get into some significant past weather events for the month of July. Starting off with the 1936 North American heat wave. Now, we did come in on a heat dome here. It's been a scorcher out there, but could have come in on some relief here at the beginning parts of July, so that's some good news, y'all. Now, back in 1936, we had scorching temperatures exceeding 120 degrees, claiming over 5,000 lives during the Great Depression, and the Dust Bowl, cities like New York, hit 106 degrees. An interesting fact about this heat wave is steel bridges in Chicago expanded, misaligning and causing transportation chaos, while Midwestern chickens died en masse from overheating. And some reports on the ground during this event in Lincoln, Nebraska, residents slept on lawns, with a farmer noting the ground is so hot, it's like sleeping on a stove. And in New York, crowds overwhelmed Coney Island with people fainting on subway platforms. So that's the 1936 heat wave, and they didn't have air conditioning back in the day, y'all. Now we complain about it all the time when we don't even have it, so just be grateful, y'all, that y'all have air conditioning nowadays. Now, in 1993, we had the Great Flood, which exceeded $15 billion in damage, caused 50 deaths, inundating 30,000 square miles. The Mississippi River at St. Louis crested at 49.58 feet, almost 50 feet, the highest ever recorded. Residents reported, though, biblical scenes, including frog migrations, as communities were submerged for months. And another heat wave occurred in 1995, July 12th to 16th. Temperatures at 106 degrees, again, with 739 deaths, mostly among the elderly and poor, highlighting urban heat vulnerabilities. Interesting fact, high humidity prevented cooling, and the city's delayed response worsened the toll. Some reports from on the ground was hospitals and morgues were overwhelmed with many victims dying alone in unventilated homes, as noted by the Cook County Medical Examiner. So you can see we've had a lot of heat waves back in past Julys, and it's not looking like this July is going to look like that, but it can, so keep that in mind. Can will change. Now we did have a tornado outbreak in 1996. We could still have tornadoes in July, y'all. We can have tornadoes and hurricanes. Now in 1995, on July 18th, there was an F5 tornado that hit Wisconsin, caused extensive damage, and one fatality with winds over 260 miles an hour. An interesting fact about this is it leveled a high school in Oakland, showing the tornado strength during summertime. Now, witnesses described a green sky before the storm, which is an indicator of hail, with the National Guard aiding debris clearance. Now, the next one here is actually a hurricane. Hurricane Emily back in 2005. It was a Category 5. It was one of the strongest July storms at the time. It caused $988 million in damage across the Caribbean and in Mexico. Interesting fact about this is Emily was the first July Atlantic hurricane to reach Category 5 strength until Hurricane Beryl last July. And some on-the-ground reports from Emily was in Grenada. Hospitals flooded and a man was killed by a landslide. Mexico saw coastal flooding and tornadoes, prompting mass evacuations. So we've had heat waves, tornadoes, floods, and hurricanes in previous Julys, and it's looking like this July could be cool to start, hot in the middle of the month, and then sort of cooling back off again as we head into August, which could mean an uptick in some severe weather potentially that could happen. And we could have a lot more hurricanes here in July as we head into the meat and potatoes of hurricane season. Now, from past significant weather events to some wartime weather history, starting off with the Declaration of Independence on Independence Day on July 4th, 1776. The reason why we celebrate Independence Day is because we broke away from Britain because we were overtaxed, and nowadays we just put up with it for some reason. George Washington would definitely not approve of this. He would be suggesting that we all revolt against our government for being overtaxed and underrepresented. Now, on July 4th, 1776, in Philadelphia's Pennsylvania State House, known nowadays as Independence Hall, 56 delegates, including Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin, adopted the Declaration asserting independence from Britain. The weather that day was mild, right around 76 degrees. It was a nice day at noon. It's partly cloudy, with a light breeze offering relief to delegates in heavy wool suits and wigs. The comfortable conditions supported a focused session, enabling this pivotal moment that launched the United States, celebrated annually as Independence Day. So we can see the reason why we celebrate Independence Day is because we broke away from Britain's over-taxation on the United States. Now, after 1776, we did keep on fighting. As noted here, on July 16th, 1779, we had the Battle of Stony Point. Cloud cover and high winds in New York concealed American movements, aiding a surprise attack on British forces. So we did continue to fight the Declaration of Independence because Britain was a bunch of scumbags back in the day, and they're still really a bunch of scumbags nowadays. Now, the impact of this is the weather led to a morale-boosting American victory. On-the-ground reports include General Anthony Wayne's forces using darkness. Now, the next war is in 1812, capture of Fort Mackinac, July 17th, 1812 in Michigan. Midsummer conditions were likely warm. Impact of this was weather had minimal impacts due to this surprise British attack. On the ground records suggest standard summer conditions because back then they didn't keep much weather records, very sparse, so this is the best we could find, y'all. Now after that, kept on fighting. We have the Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg actually, July 1st to 3rd, 1863. This is one of the most important wartime events. The weather from July 1st to 3rd was hot and humid, right around 87 degrees, exhausting soldiers with heavy rain on July 4th, flooding retreat routes. Heat and rain aided the Union victory though. Soldiers reported heat strokes and muddy conditions. Now, in the next video, I will definitely go over in more detail on the Declaration of Independence and the Battle of Gettysburg. We'll have my Independence Day forecast out here very soon. So make sure to subscribe, y'all, if you haven't already, so you don't miss that. Now, the next one is the World War I Battle of the Somme, July 1st, 1916. Fair morning weather with mist right around 72 degrees supported the offensive in France. Good conditions aided the attack despite mist. Soldiers described fair conditions with a high-pressure ridge. And from World War I to World War II, the Battle of Kursk, July 5th, 1943. Warm, dry conditions in Russia supported tank and air operations. Clear weather aided German planing. Accounts noted beautiful yellow wheat fields. Now, last one here, Battle of Britain, July 10th, 1940, during World War II. Showers and rain in England, limited Luftwaffe bombing, weather-reduced raid intensity. Bad weather, like on July 14th, impacted engagements. Now, last thing we'll cover here in this video is some astronomical events to look forward to this month. Here is the list from July 4th all the way into the 31st. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but on Independence Day, you're going to be able to see Mercury at its greatest elongation, shining in the morning sky, and you might be able to see Uranus near Venus on Independence Day night. And on July 30th to 31st, might be able to see some meteor showers as well, up to 25 meteors per hour, best in the southern hemisphere. And we have the James Webb Telescope and the Hubble Telescope still up there, giving us some interesting data, and here is the roundup of that for this year so far. The Hubble Telescope, in its 35th year, uncovered some vivid images of galaxies like NGC 3596 and ARP 184, revealing spiral structures and peculiar formations aiding studies of galaxy evolution. Debris disks, observations of debris disks 200 light years away, are helping astronomers like that guy understand planet formation with data collected on April 24th of this year. Hubble Constant teamed with James Webb Telescope. Hubble refined the universe's expansion rate to 70.4 kilometers, aligning with cosmic microwave background data and easing the Hubble tension debate. Now, the James Webb Telescope hasn't been up there very long. It's only been up there for 4 years. So far, it's been finding a whole bunch of interesting stuff up there, like an alien planet. I found that to be very fascinating yesterday that it found that. Now, James Webb Telescope has found the earliest galaxy, MOMZ14, the earliest galaxy seen just 280 million years after the Big Bang, with nitrogen and carbon indicating rapid star formation. Exoplanet breakthroughs. It captured evidence of a Saturn-mass planet orbiting TWA-7, James Webb Telescope's first direct image planet discovery, and detected methane and water vapor in WASP-80b's atmosphere. So it's already uncovering some planets that could inhabit life. I think it's actually caught 2 of them, actually. Cosmic renovation identified 83 small starburst galaxies in Able 2744, showing they drove the universe's re-ionization 800 million years post the Big Bang. Solar system origins found varying methanol traces on trans-Neptunian objects, revealing chemical processes linked to our solar system's formation. And like I said earlier, potential life signs. It detected dimethyl sulfide, DMS, on K218b, a possible biosignature, though debate continues over non-biological origins. So James Webb Telescope is finding a lot more than Hubble Telescope. James Webb Telescope is a very, very good telescope. I already found a couple planets that could inhabit life, and I think it even did some research on black holes and whether or not we are actually in a black hole or not. That's still up for debate. It's very exciting. Look forward to the future of these telescopes out there finding interesting data. Now lastly, what do these telescopes do and how are they different? Well, James Webb Telescope is way better than Hubble Telescope, but Hubble Telescope can do stuff that the James Webb Telescope can't, like the UV sensitivity and high resolution, while the James Webb Telescope has infrared capabilities, which unveil early universes and habitable exoplanets. But together, they both are resolving cosmic mysteries from expansion rates to galaxy formation, with their complementary strengths ensuring a fuller picture of the universe. So it's pretty exciting, y'all. These telescopes are uncovering some stuff that we've never known in a million years, so it's very, very cool. We might find some planets that could inhabit life, but hopefully our government don't send money to that planet, because you know they will. Hopefully y'all enjoyed today's little forecast. I know it was a long one, but I'm only saving these long videos for the monthly outlook, so keep that in mind, y'all. So basically what I'm expecting for this month is gonna be cool to start, a little bit wet for really, I would say, much of the country, but then it's gonna start to get hot here as we head into the middle of the month. But don't worry, y'all, expect it to cool again as we head into the end of this month into August. And it's going to be a little bit dry as well as we head into the middle and end of the month, so enjoy the rain while it lasts, y'all. We could still come in on some severe weather here at the beginning and sort of the middle of the month, so we are not out of the woods just yet, y'all. Although severe weather season is starting to wind down and hurricane season is starting to pick up. And speaking of hurricane season, could have an uptick in some tropical activity out there in the Atlantic and a little bit of a downtrend in the Eastern Pacific, but of course that can still change, y'all, and I'll keep y'all updated on X and Facebook and on here, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate all y'all for watching, and I will have an Independence Day forecast up here probably very, very soon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you're watching this before Independence Day, have a great Independence Day, y'all. Don't forget why we celebrate Independence Day. It's because we broke away from Britain because of taxes, and we got our freedom back from them. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all y'all for watching. Have a great day, and until next time, never stop forecasting.